Hi everyone, this is Julia. We're going to get started in just a couple of minutes. Just letting everybody know that we're going to get started at 1. Thank you guys for being patient with us. I know we had a scheduling issue earlier today, but if you'll just sit tight for just a couple more minutes, we'll be ready to go. Okay, so thank everyone for being patient with us today while we worked out our scheduling issues. I'm not sure what happened, but we had a kind of an issue with GoToWebinar, and it looks like we got scheduled in the wrong time zone. And thanks to our trading coordinator, we got everything worked out, and we're on our way. So I just really appreciate you guys being patient with us while we work through that. But we're just going to jump right in. Looks like we've got most of our attendees that are registered are here with us now. And we're here today to talk about exporting with Amazon. My name is Julia Montgomery, and I am the International Trade Specialist here at the Florida SBDC at UNF. And I work strictly with businesses that are interested in import and export activities. And I am not what you would call anything close to an Amazon expert, but I've had a fair amount of clients that have exported via Amazon. And as such, I've got quite a bit of experience helping my clients figure out kind of the complex web that is Amazon, and the things that they need to be cognizant of, and some of the barriers that can crop up unexpectedly in the process. And so I thought, why not do a webinar over this subject, since I know that there are a lot of small businesses out there that are looking to export, but that may not have a springboard for doing so, and Amazon actually can present that opportunity to you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, I just want to give you an introduction to who we are. Some of you may or may not have had any previous exposure to the Florida SBDC. And though we're going to be talking about exporting with Amazon today, it's important that you know that we offer a variety of consulting services to Florida small and medium-sized businesses. So the Florida SBDC is charged with assisting small businesses grow and succeed. And we accomplish this mission by assisting businesses through virtually every stage of the business life cycle. And this can be from the generation of a business concept all the way to succession planning, which is what that arrow kind of encompasses there. Well, what that means is you can come to us and receive no-cost business consulting services for a variety of reasons. Maybe you have an idea that you need to flesh out. You've got a concept that you're unsure of the type of business structure that you'd like to pursue with that concept. Maybe you need marketing assistance or financial accounting assistance. We don't have accountants, but we can definitely assist you with kind of organizing your financial statements, which you may be looking to do because you may be looking to pursue a loan or some other type of investment, and you need to get your business plan squared away. And additionally, if you live in Florida, you're at a high risk of having your business operations interrupted by natural disaster. And so we can actually assist you in the event that you need to develop a disaster plan as well. And if you haven't done that, I would recommend that you get in touch with us so we can help you start creating that disaster plan for your own business. So these are only just a few examples of the type of assistance that we can provide. We also offer a few areas of specialty consulting, which are government contracting and international trade services. Our government contracting specialists assist SMEs with the process of bidding for local, state, and federal tenders. And this can be quite a bureaucratic and somewhat tedious process on your own. It can take a long time, but our specialists are here to make the process clearer and more straightforward for you. They can also assist you in getting approved for certain certifications or designations that you might need to make you more competitive in the government bidding process. This would be like, getting your 8A certification to make you more competitive. And then, of course, we provide our international trade consulting services. So as I stated just a second ago, I'm the international trade specialist for the Northeast region of the state, the top 18 Northeast counties. And I assist businesses that are interested in enacting international trade growth strategies. So that's import and export. One of the ways that I do this is through no cost, one-on-one import-export consulting. I work with a variety of clients with import-export needs, some of which are related to determining whether you're export ready, helping you determining whether an export lead is indicative of larger market demand. So for example, if you get an order online from a buyer in the UK and you want to know if there's a potential for more sales there and you want to enact a countrywide strategy, I can help you determine whether a market is viable from a cost standpoint. We all know that an exported product incurs more costs from one market to the next. So by the time it reaches your potential buyer, it may not be cost efficient. They may not be willing to pay for it. And then I can provide individual research to help you identify solutions to unique international trade needs, which can be quite a broad spectrum there. I also kind of function as a conduit since I tend to operate within a pretty concentrated international trade environment. I'm always learning about new events, workshops, certifications, trainings, everything related to the import-export community in our region. And then I tend to refer my clients to as needed or on a, as needed to assist basis. I also have relationships with related service providers, so translators, international lawyers, freight brokers, etc., that my clients often request and need referrals for. So on the for-fee side of things, I provide a product called the Export Marketing Plan, which is kind of the Rosetta Stone of the International Trade Program in the Florida SBDC. It's basically a report that I draft specifically for qualified clients that essentially provides a customized export strategy, which is developed specifically for new to export clients that are ready to begin exporting, but that don't know where to focus their marketing efforts or how to get started. So if you'd like any more information about any of those services, I'm going to put my contact information up at the end of the webinar, and I encourage you to reach out to me. All right. So if exporting is so challenging and at times even difficult, why should we even consider doing it? And the long answer, as you can see from this list, is it's multifaceted. The short answer is that it's a long-term growth strategy for your business. Obviously, most business owners want to grow their customer base. They want to grow their sales and increase profits. But most people don't know that businesses that export are generally more profitable. They usually pay higher wages. They tend to grow faster than their non-exporting counterparts. They also don't take into account that 95% of the world's consumers, with roughly 70% of the world's purchasing power, lies outside the United States. So yes, the United States is a large and diverse market, and it's consumer heavy. So many people don't consider expanding their sales efforts beyond our country borders, but not to do so is essentially to leave untapped potential on the table. Additionally, and this is, kind of the competitor in me, you can bet your domestic competitors are either already doing it or they're thinking about how best to gain an edge over the competition, aka you, by going global. And foreign firms competing in your industry are definitely eyeballing your market space here. So growing into export markets not only offsets your domestic competition, but it also keeps you competitive with foreign firms that might be interested in grabbing a piece of your pie. Another reason to export is because it reduces your reliance on a single market, and it could help you mitigate domestic economic fluctuation. As we all know, the U.S. economy isn't static. It has highs and lows, and many economists have been talking about a looming economic recession of some kind. By having customers in foreign markets, you're able to hedge against the effects of an economic downturn and the effect that can have on your domestic sales numbers. So you may or may not know, developing countries weren't nearly as affected by the last economic recession, and exporters that had customers in those markets to lean on fared quite a bit better than their non-exporting peers. We've heard from several companies that have told us that their export markets basically saved their bacon during the last downturn. So it's worth doing, it's worth looking into. We recommend that you differentiate your client portfolio today so you aren't scrambling when domestic sales dip tomorrow. Additionally, you can also extend the life cycle of certain products by exporting. So consider things like technology, such as smartphones. Often when a new smartphone model is released in the US, old models quickly become obsolete and lose almost all their value. We've all tried to, take our phone in and trade it in for some kind of monetary value, and that's basically a moot point. But this is not often the case in other countries. They may still have solid demand for the old model for quite some time due to a delayed release or lack of access to new technology. Additionally, you can mitigate seasonal fluctuations by selling to countries in other hemispheres. A good example of this are manufacturers that make summer-related products, so things like flip-flops, bathing suits, or sunblock. As the warmer season in the US dips into the cool season and these products are in lower demand, countries in lower hemispheres are generally warming up, which provides an opportunity for continued sales. And lastly, but certainly not least, many of our exporting clients find this process challenging but exceedingly rewarding. Each export market has its own characteristics that make it unique, and sometimes learning the nuanced ways to do business in each of those markets can be tricky, but it's also a pretty compelling and interesting process. So many of our exporting businesses actually tell us that their export strategy is now their favorite thing to do when they go to work. So how are our small businesses currently exporting their products or services? Well, to be honest, it usually starts online these days. Online sales opportunities have, without a doubt, revolutionized the way that small businesses access export markets. Because the online marketplace is virtual, small businesses that otherwise wouldn't have the finances or the time to develop resources or relationships in export markets find themselves suddenly able to reach export markets via the internet. Online sales account for a large share of first-time small business exports, and this is largely due to the fact that your website is basically your global storefront. Many small businesses have fielded at least one inquiry from an overseas interest that seemed to kind of stumble across their webpage. With that in mind, I'll tell you that having a professional, well-maintained, and updated website is absolutely crucial to your international success. Your website is basically as important or even more important than your business card this day and age. It's often the first thing that a potential client notices about you, and it's their first exposure to your business. If your website looks messy, if it has spelling or punctuation errors, if it's tacky or badly designed, and most importantly, if it doesn't communicate what you do effectively, you might be pushing customers away and potentially even into the arms of competitors. So my first recommendation is always to make sure that your website is up to snuff. So some more traditional ways that small businesses generally export their products and services are listed here. First and foremost, we have trade shows, which is basically an exhibition or an expo of some kind. It's organized so companies within a specific industry can showcase and demonstrate latest products and services within that industry. Industry partners and customers tend to use these to congregate and do trainings and examine recent market trends and opportunities. This strategy is really more of a high volume exposure strategy in which you are exposed to a lot of leads all at once. You usually leave an exhibition or trade show with a ton of business cards and a good idea of how the industry is evolving and how your product or service is fitting into it. They're a great way to get a ton of exposure really fast to the international trade environment surrounding an industry. On the other side of that, we have trade missions, which are international trips by government officials and business people that are organized by governments and economic development agencies for the purposes of exploring international business opportunities. People that attend these missions are typically introduced to important business contacts and well-placed government officials, such as U.S. commercial service agents in country, chambers of commerce, economic development agencies in country. But basically, a trade mission is a way in which countries or organizations can seek out potential buyers and sellers. Usually they happen after one party has undergone a significant amount of market research and identified a specific market as a target market. This is more of a scalpel approach. It's much more focused. You're probably not going to leave with a ton of business cards, but the time that you spend one-on-one with potential leads on a trade mission is going to be much more involved. We also have something called export management companies or export trading companies. These companies sell and market products and services internationally on behalf of domestic manufacturers. They're the equivalent of an in-house international department. So they're like your third-party international sales department. They do marketing, invoicing, shipping. Sometimes they'll take on your foreign receivables risk, customer training and support, and even warranty issues. You're basically paying a fee to allow someone to come in and do your third-party exporting for you. Another common method is piggybacking, which is where you have a relationship between two similar industries that don't compete, but that same to the sell customer base. A piggyback partner would basically represent your company overseas and pass your sales back to you. This would be like if you with food items, maybe you sell some type of agricultural product. So you sell turkeys, and you've got another company that makes some type of spice that goes really good with the turkey, but you're not competing directly. The person that sells the turkeys, that's exporting the turkeys, might be willing to carry the spice that complements the product well with their export strategy as they go overseas. Some other methods include agents, making use of sales agents. Agents abroad represent the products in the market, but they never take legal title of the goods or maintain inventory. They're basically conduits. The agent makes the sale, but you, as headquarters, are going to invoice the customer and assume all of the accounts receivable risk. And then once payment has been received, the company is going to pay the agent a commission. Distributors, on the other hand, will order directly from your company and take title of the goods and inventory the merchandise locally. Your company would ship to the distributor in bulk with no knowledge of who the final consumer will be. They often have the strong branding of the manufacturer. They're much more likely to be aggressive in their marketing activities, and they can conduct some customer support activities in the local field. Franchising and licensing basically allows you to allows someone to pay for the right to use your intellectual property and or your specific trademarked business model. That's something that people that are further along we might recommend. And then even further down that field is foreign direct investment, which is the most involved form of exporting, and it requires an investment made by you in a facility in a foreign country to market or produce a product in country. Again, that strategy is really not recommended as an initial export strategy. So, getting to the main event here, one of the newest and most convenient ways to export involves this 10-ton elephant in the room, Amazon. More than half the products sold on Amazon's marketplace are actually provided by small and medium-sized business owners. And its fulfillment by Amazon, or FBA services, allow them to reach more than 300 million customers in more than 180 countries. In 2017, sales by SMEs, small and medium-sized businesses, who sold globally grew at more than 50%, which was more than twice the rate of domestic-only sellers, which is just incredible. Many of FBA's significant success stories come from small-scale entrepreneurs who use Amazon as a way to go global without the hassle of building out their own export platforms, without all the compliance, currency, and customer service issues that entails. So exporting via Amazon not only provides you with a way to verify market demand without a significant investment of time and money into that market, but it also takes care of many of the tedious jobs associated with exporting, such as packing and shipping. Now, this is not to say that Amazon is without its disadvantages. The use of Amazon FBA comes at a fee based largely upon the size of your product and the method of shipping. And if you're not shipping a high enough volume, you may find out that the cost outweighs the return. Additionally, you can give up a considerable amount of control to Amazon when you use their services, which comes with its own distinct set of headaches. I would recommend that you review their tutorials and training videos that they have posted on their website via Seller Central and the Global Selling Platform. If you need additional assistance in performing a cost-benefit analysis, you can always give me a call. I'm happy to set up some time with you to review their fees, go over anticipated costs, and help you determine at what point using their global selling or FBA will be profitable for you. Additionally, as we will discuss later, you can take advantage of a North America Unified account. A North America Unified account opens up access to the US, Canadian, and Mexican markets. It allows you to sell your offerings in all three countries from the same store. A unified account is a fantastic way to start your export strategy, as we have very strong trade relationships with Canada and Mexico, and due to our free trade agreement, import tariffs are largely eliminated. By selling internationally on Amazon, you can quickly get your products in front of millions of customers from more than 180 countries. Amazon operates in 3 different regions with more than 10 marketplaces worldwide. The North American region includes the US, Canada, and Mexico marketplaces. The European region's marketplaces include the UK, Germany, France, Italy, and Spain. The Asian region includes China, Japan, and India marketplaces. All in all, there are more than these markets, but these are the major ones. So there are really 2 ways to use Amazon to export products: FBA Exports and Amazon Global Selling. FBA Exports is kind of this simple but broad strategy versus a much more complex and targeted strategy in using Amazon Global Selling. I generally recommend that clients that are already making use of Amazon FBA domestically go ahead and make use of FBA Export. FBA Export enables you to list your FBA products on Amazon. Have Amazon export orders to customers in countries around the world. It's a relatively simple process. It doesn't involve the seller in a super complex export process, and it can assist sellers in determining whether there is a great deal of interest in their products from another region. On the other side of that token, however, FBA does not give you any visibility on other marketplaces and will very likely result in fewer export sales for you than if you were to go ahead and do Amazon Global Selling and sell in other marketplaces around the world. So the FBA export service is offered at no extra charge from domestic FBA fees, and it allows Amazon to identify your export eligible products, fulfill orders, and help manage the cross-border complexities such as import-export restrictions, customs duties, and cross-border returns. FBA Export enables customers outside your listing marketplace to order and ship FBA products to their international address, having the buyer pay the international shipping and customs duties. This is currently offered only in the US and the 5 European marketplaces. Amazon Global Selling enables you to list and sell your products on any one of the Amazon websites in the United States, Germany, UK, France, Italy, Spain, Canada, China, and Japan. You ship your products to the countries you want to list in with the option of being fulfilled out of Amazon fulfillment centers in those countries. You can access various tools and services, including product listing tools and the Amazon Unified Account and Amazon Linked Accounts, which we'll talk about right now. So it's fairly easy to get started selling on Amazon, selling internationally on Amazon. First, you'll need to sign up for a professional seller account, which is this snapshot here. Well, I have an independent seller account, so yours would look a little bit different than mine. But this will give you access to the Unified Account, Linked Accounts, and Build International Listings tool to help you manage your listings in different marketplaces or regions. The easiest way to find out whether you have a Unified Account or a Linked Account is to click the Marketplace drop-down at the top of your account in Seller Central, which is where I have this red circle here. You click that drop-down menu, and you can see whether other marketplaces appear. Again, because I have a different type of account, it's not the professional selling account, it won't look quite like this, but it'll look similar. To help you grow your business internationally within the same region, you're given a unified account to access all marketplaces in that same region when you register into a North American or European marketplace. So you can sort of think of it as a continental tool. The biggest benefit of a unified account is that you're able to manage your international business across all marketplaces from the single Seller Central homepage. A North American Unified Account gives you access to the US, Canada, and Mexico. A European Unified Account gives you access to UK, Germany, France, Italy, and Spain. So it just makes the process a little simpler for you. So what if you sell in 2 different regions? When you sell in both North America and Europe, for example, you can take advantage of a linked account. Linked accounts provide the foundation to the cross-region selling experience on Amazon today. You're able to link your accounts in North America, Europe, and Japan. Once your accounts in different regions are linked, you can view sales, orders, and buyer messages from all of your marketplaces on a single page. To link your accounts, you sign into Seller Central, go to Inventory, and click Sell Globally. From there, you select the regions you want to link, and then you can click Link Accounts. Or you can select to register now to register into a new region. To be clear, you will need to set up an individual account for each marketplace that you want to do business in before you can link them. As professional sellers, after linking your accounts in other regions, you can use the Build International Listings, a self-service tool, to automatically replicate your offers and synchronize prices from a source marketplace to other target marketplaces within and across regions. Please note an ASIN must exist in both the source marketplace and the target marketplace. An ASIN, or an Amazon Standard Identification Number, is a 10-character alphanumeric unique identifier, which is assigned by Amazon.com and its partners to identify products. The first step of using BIL is to choose a source marketplace and target marketplaces. The source marketplace is the primary place to manage your prices. The next step is to choose the target marketplaces you want to connect to your source marketplace. Once the marketplaces are connected, BIL is able to add offers and synchronize the offer prices from the source marketplace to the target marketplace. To make sure BIL successfully connects a source marketplace with target marketplaces, your offer needs to allow product listings in the source marketplace to exist in the target marketplace, so you have to select that, and then you must have an active offer in the source marketplace. In all Amazon marketplaces, you can choose to fulfill orders yourself, or you can have Amazon fulfill orders for you with Fulfillment by Amazon, or FBA. You can even elect to use a third-party fulfillment provider if you like. As an international seller, you first and foremost have the option of shipping products yourself. When you ship directly to Amazon customers, you will choose the carrier for your international shipment, and you will be the exporter of record. International shipping charges will vary depending upon several factors, including your package dimension and weight, the delivery speed selected, the origin of your goods, and the destination of your goods. It's imperative that you manage customer expectations when shipping orders yourself. You need to make sure that you provide customers accurate information about the country you are shipping from. The shipping from country in your seller profile and the shipping time you quote must be accurate. Incorrectly representing your shipping process can lead to a negative customer experience and may ultimately result in the removal of your selling privileges. It's important that customers not be subjected to shipment delays due to customs or unexpected charges associated with additional duties and taxes. It's important that you take care of these matters when you ship the product. What you'll do is ensure that all shipments are sent delivery duty paid, which is a shipping term that designates that all of the costs and responsibility to the seller until it reaches the buyer. You can also use Fulfilled by Amazon. When you use FBA, your inventory is stored in Amazon fulfillment centers close to international customers, which helps them get their products faster. Amazon will also take care of customer returns and provide local customer service. When using FBA, you send your inventories to a fulfillment center in the country where you want to sell your products, and FBA takes it from there. When you use FBA, you can provide the same benefits to your customers as virtually in-country competitors, which includes being able to make your products Amazon Prime eligible, which provides access to the more loyal Amazon customer base. You can make your offers more competitive by decreasing delivery time. You can provide local returns for domestic shipments, and you can provide 24-hour customer support 7 days a week by leveraging the Amazon Support Network. It's very important to note that it's the seller's responsibility to comply with all import and export laws and to ensure that the imported goods comply with applicable laws and regulations. You may not import prohibitive or restricted items without the required permits or authorizations. For example, the import of certain agricultural food products, alcohol, plants and seeds, etc., into specific countries may be prohibited or restricted. When your inventory originates in a different country than the fulfillment center, you act as the exporter of record in the source country and the importer of record in the destination country. You have to comply with all the laws and regulations of the source and destination countries, and you'll likely be subject to the import taxes, custom duties, and fees levied by the destination country. For certain classes of products, the laws of the source country prohibit the item from shipping internationally. A good example of this will be the export of military products, which is a matter of national security. So along those lines, the following types of products are generally restricted for exports: weapons, plant products and seeds, animal products, surveillance equipment, laser pointers. On the other hand, although a source country may allow the imports of a certain type of item or the exports of a certain type of item, destination countries have their own policies regarding what may be imported. To avoid delays and custom clearance issues and poor customer experience, Amazon generally restricts the international shipment of several types of product to facilitate shipment. And it's basically a country by country understanding. But you've got things like alcohol, weapons, chemicals, certain foods and medicines, alcohol brewing equipment. Canada was in the news several years back because they stopped allowing the import of U.S. baby walkers because they're considered dangerous. Gambling related items, etc. The list really goes on and on. Certain restrictions are based on logistics and transportation limitations. For example, things that exceed a certain size and weight are excluded from FBA export. And these are things that are heavy or bulky, maybe some dangerous goods, lithium-ion batteries, or used oil, such as cooking oil or motor oil. So kind of an interesting plethora of restricted products there. You may elect to hire a third-party logistics provider, such as a customs broker or a freight forwarder, to handle the process for you. These providers have the expertise and resources to make sure your inventory moves from its origin to the destination in a timely and secure manner, while meeting your obligations and responsibilities in the process. If you choose to use a third-party fulfillment provider, your first step is to find a carrier that can ship internationally. Before you make a decision, you should definitely visit their website to get approximate shipping charges for filling orders for the Amazon marketplaces that you're interested in. There are many online resources that can help you compare rates and find providers that are a good fit for you. Some of the companies that Amazon suggests are listed here: DHL, Expeditors International, FedEx, Samuel Shapiro, and UPS. It is definitely recommended that you contact your forwarder before you ship any inventory to make sure you understand all the associated fees and requirements. And this is something that you could definitely come in and see us at the SBDC about as well. We can help you understand what some of the barriers are going to be whenever you elect to use a third-party provider. So let's talk about some best practices for selling globally on Amazon. First of all, branding. So whether you're naming a brand from scratch or translating an existing name brand into a new language, it's important that you choose a brand name that gives the customer the right impression of your brand. So a few things to consider when you name your when figuring out your brand and naming your brand are including the customer into that decision. So when naming your brand, think about what you want your brand to represent to your customers. What does the brand name mean in the local language? Does your brand name evoke the emotions and responses that you want your customers to associate with your brand? Is it relevant to the US consumer or the foreign consumer, and does it make sense? Another thing you might want to avoid are literal translations, because these often don't make sense and can even be offensive. You'll want to be sure to check the meaning of your brand name in a new language regardless. There have been many instances in my Spanish career, in my learning Spanish and studying Spanish abroad, where idioms did not translate correctly and even were quite hilarious or even offensive. So just getting kind of a local perspective on the literal translation of your brand is pretty important. Include your brand name as often as possible, meaning every chance you have to expose customers to your brand is an opportunity in marketing that you should take. So you should include it on all your labels, all your tags, all your packaging, expose your brand name to help promote the awareness of your brand as much as you can. So moving on to intellectual property. Just so you know, you should definitely consider trademarks and other IP protections before you take your products global. Most people know, but a trademark is basically a word or a symbol or even like a color or sound that can help identify the source of a product. They differentiate your brand, and they're a valuable tool to help customers recognize your brand. As a brand owner, you'll want to consider registering your brand or trademark with the US government and potentially even other countries in which you plan to do business. And I've actually put both the US and the World International Intellectual Property Organization website links on this PowerPoint, so you can look at what that would entail. Registering your intellectual property with the US government isn't a requirement, but it does have several advantages to you. It grants you the right to use the registered trademark symbol. It grants protections that keeps others from registering the same or a confusingly similar mark. And it can actually serve as the basis for an international trademark application. Something that's important for you to note is that as a brand owner on Amazon, it is your responsibility to ensure that the products you sell do not infringe on the intellectual property of others. Amazon does have a zero tolerance policy on any IP infringement, and listing prohibited intellectual property may actually result in the removal of your listings, the suspension or removal of your selling privileges as well. So you're responsible for ensuring that the products that you offer are legal and authorized for sale or resale before listing them on Amazon. If you're wanting more information on that, there are actually, Amazon has an IP violation policy that you can check into as well for further reading. So a lot of selling on Amazon relies upon the image of your product. The quality and the composition of the images that you select for your product detail pages can attract customers and help them decide whether they want to buy your product or not. Amazon actually does have requirements for a consistent image browsing experience and has specific guidelines for the images that you use. You are not allowed to use any unauthorized images, obviously. These are pulled from magazines or any prohibited sites or sources. If you use unauthorized images, of course, that can result in the removal of your selling privileges, so just be careful of that. Make sure that your primary image is at least 1001 pixels on the longest side, and this is to help with the use of the zoom function so that clients or potential buyers can explore the details of your product in the zoom function. It's also recommended, as a side note, that you upload the largest image possible. Product images should not include any extraneous accessories, decorations, or ornamentation. For example, in the picture here, you've got an image of a dress that's for sale. It shouldn't include any accessories such as handbags, sunglasses, or hats, as this can confuse your potential buyer about what the product actually includes. And additionally, the main image should have a pure white background, so no lifestyle images as the primary image for your product. They do require multiple images in order to show the different angles of a product, and they do recommend enhanced brand content, which just means more information to tell the brand story and address common customer questions about the product. If sizing is an important feature for your product, it's important that you conduct your own research to identify market sizing standards before beginning production for your target market. You may also need to draft market-specific sizing charts to facilitate your sales. It's recommended that you frequently monitor customer feedback in the form of your comments and potential returns in order to adjust sizing as might be needed for you. Before you start selling in a foreign market, and this is probably fairly obvious, but it's kind of a a big barrier occasionally, you may need to translate your product information into a local language. If you use terms or words that the customers are not familiar with, you may prevent your products from showing up in search results at all. So to help customers discover your products and provide them with the right information, it's important that translations are high quality and localized if at all possible. So localization is the process of adapting terms into cultural norms and to address legal requirements and regulations in that market. A good example is that even if you're from an English-speaking country, there may be regional differences that need to be localized before you sell to other English-speaking countries. A good example of this is that a UK customer will search for trousers rather than pants as a US customer would. It's not recommended that you use online translation services because they are often low quality and incorrect. It is recommended that you hire a professional translation agency that offers human translation, editing, and proofreading services to ensure that your content is translated seamlessly and accurately. It's important because accurate product description in the local language will actually help you gain customer trust and increase the potential for a sale. So it's recommended that Amazon sellers review the third-party translation providers on the Amazon Solution Provider Network. If you would like additional information about translation services and maybe even a referral to a couple of translation services within the Jacksonville region, I'm happy to assist with that as well. I actually have a few relationships with a few of them in the region. So getting paid, that's really important. When opening a new Amazon seller account in a new marketplace, there are a few ways you can set up your account to get paid. You can use one of the following methods. You can use a bank account in the marketplace where you want to list. You can use the Amazon currency converter for sellers, and you can also use a third-party currency conversion service. If you prefer to maintain a higher level of control over your financial accounts, you'll want to open a bank account in the country where you want to sell. This is typically a more complex process as you may need to create a legal business entity within that country. So you'll need to consult your legal, tax, and banking advisors before you begin doing that. If you prefer not to open a bank account in the country of another Amazon marketplace, you can opt for the Amazon currency converter. With the Amazon currency converter service, you can be paid directly in your local bank account in local currency, provided you have a bank account in a country or region and currency supported by the Amazon currency converter. And then again, if you would prefer not to open a bank account in the country of another Amazon marketplace or a country or region supported by the Amazon currency converter, you have the option of using a third party, which is Hyperwallet. And this is a third-party payment service provider offering currency conversion services. Hyperwallet makes local currency disbursements available in your local country or region. You may receive the proceeds from your Amazon sales to a Hyperwallet deposit account and then transfer them directly to your bank account in your local currency. Once again, I'd just like to mention that it's the responsibility of the seller to comply with U.S. export controls. For more information about export controls, the International Traffic in Arms regulations and the Export Administration regulations, which regulate the sale of restricted items, I've attached links for your own research. That's like a whole other webinar in itself. And I'm happy to go over anything related to these export control resources with you. It can be quite a bit to unpack. There's quite a bit with export compliance, but if you have questions, I do encourage you to reach out to me. When you select an Amazon marketplace in which to sell, you'll need to understand whether your product is appropriate for your target market. First and foremost, make sure that you comply with all the laws in each country. In addition, product standards do differ across countries. For example, MP3 players operating on 110/220 voltage that use two-prong electrical chargers may not be appropriate for European marketplaces, but could be appropriate for Japan. Similarly, feather beds that you would successfully sell in the UK would probably not sell well in the US because probably may not know this, but the standard mattress sizes are actually different between each country. Before you decide upon an Amazon export strategy, you should do some additional research into the popularity of Amazon within a particular market. Amazon is not nearly as popular in certain markets over others, and you may elect to hold off on a particular country until Amazon has developed more of a reputation in that country. You also want to look into the purchasing patterns of consumers in a particular market relative to the type of product that you're attempting to sell. You may find that the consumer base within a particular market has not adopted favorable online purchasing habits for items like clothing or food. This will require market-specific research to uncover, but it's much better to know this before you enact a country-specific strategy. Consideration should also be given to our free trade agreement countries. Free trade agreements generally make the entire export process less cumbersome, less expensive, and more transparent. These agreements become very relevant to exporters and increase the opportunity for international business by eliminating duties on inbound goods, which could actually be the difference in whether your product is affordable within a particular market. Some other types of opportunities frequently found in free trade agreements include things outside the Amazon world, which is, the ability for U.S. company to bid on government procurements within that country, investment capabilities, some protection enforcement of American-owned intellectual property rights within that partner country. There are lots of advantages to doing business with an FTA country, and this is just a good little snapshot of the countries that we have free trade agreements with. Obviously, not all of these countries have Amazon marketplaces, and not all countries that have Amazon marketplaces we have a free trade agreement with. Probably the most notable that's missing there are the European countries. So before you select a target Amazon market, you'll want to get a sense of the competitive environment. You can use the Amazon marketplaces to your advantage to search for your biggest competitors by marketplace and see who appears to be competing on a global scale. Don't forget to translate keywords. I recommend searching by marketplace in both English and the local language. In the example that we have here, we were looking to identify boat propeller suppliers in the US, the UK, and the German Amazon marketplaces. You can see in the graphic on the right that we had a few frequent flyers that cropped up across these marketplaces. So once you know who your major competitors are, you can dig a little deeper by seeing if they are competing on other e-commerce sites, and you can review their online presence via their website to glean additional information about their market position and their export strategy. You may even be able to find other leads, such as trade shows or trade associations, that would be a good fit for you. And you're certainly going to be able to get a good sense of whether the Amazon marketplace that you're looking at is highly competitive, if it's crowded, or if you think that there's enough space for you and your product. I just kind of wanted to touch back upon Canada and Mexico. At the very least, if you're already doing business via Amazon domestically, I think you should be considering Canada and Mexico. They're just kind of a no-brainer. You can make use of a unified account, which is going to give you, almost immediate access to those markets, even though they're not quite as competitive or as heavily used as the U.S. Amazon market. We have a really strong trade agreement with Canada and Mexico via NAFTA or the USMCA, which it will be once it's ratified. There are obvious logistics benefits. You can truck things to and from Canada and Mexico. They're our closest neighbors. We've got language capabilities in Canada, and even, if you don't speak Spanish, it's pretty easy to find a Spanish speaker for doing business in Mexico. We have similar business cultures and pretty highly integrated economies and integrated supply chains. And then within Canada, you can actually make use of the non-resident importer status, meaning that you can be both the exporter and importer of record which is going to sort of break down some of those barriers that otherwise might be put up for a potential buyer in Canada. So that's something that you might want to look into. So what I would recommend is that if you are thinking about doing business internationally with Amazon, but you don't know where to start, that you make an appointment to come in and see me. We can set an appointment as part of our no-cost SBDC Consulting, and we can come up with a ranking of top markets based upon your current experience, your product, your business culture, and your capabilities, 1, 2, 3. And we can start identifying, what the requirements of doing business within those markets will be and how easily we think we can get you into those markets. It's all just a matter of research. So we'll look at things like current barriers, we'll look at common business practice, how competitive their environment is, how strict the regulatory environment is, whether you might need to adapt or standardize your product for the market, and what the cost of that might entail. A lot of things we can go over to try to identify your most easily accessed or your most lucrative markets using Amazon. And then I also wanted to provide you guys the links to the resources that I used to build the presentation. Amazon is sort of clandestine occasionally. It's kind of a mystery. It's sometimes hard to find information. And when you do find information, it's sometimes hard to verify that it's accurate. But coming straight from the horse's mouth from Amazon is probably the safest bet, which is where I got most of this information. They have their guide to selling globally, which I've provided a link to. And then once you're registered as a seller on Amazon, you can use their Amazon Seller Central trainings that they have available. And again, if you're just sort of like me and you're using it for information purposes, you can register as an independent seller without having to pay the monthly fee. But if you are wanting to go ahead and get started, you'll probably want to go ahead and register as a professional seller. This is my contact information, and I would encourage you guys to, again, reach out to me with any questions. If there was anything on the presentation that you wanted more information on, I'm happy to go over it. There will be a survey sent straight to you guys as soon as the presentation's over. I would be just very pleased if you would go ahead and fill out that survey for me. Let us know how we're doing, and let us know if there's anything else that you'd like us to present about in the future. And with that, I'm going to open it up to, let's see what time is. We have about 4 minutes for questions. So if anybody has any questions, now's the time. I'm not seeing anything. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any questions. If for some reason you had a question and I'm just not seeing it for some reason, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email or give me a call, but I'm really not seeing anything. So with that, I think that's it. We're going to go ahead and close her down, and I really appreciate you guys sticking with us today. All right. You guys have a good afternoon.